even as we speak, I am uploading videos from this morning. The download rate compares favorably to the upload rate, so it'll take a couple hours for them to all get up there, but at least the first of them is getting close here. It's worth pausing to reflect on what has been accomplished in this morning's session. So we covered a lot of motivations for models and thoughts on their use, and particularly their use in conjunction with teams and communities. But we dove into this sort of model building. And what we saw in this model building is that AnyLogic provides a platform from the agent-based modeling side to build up a model by defining agent so-called classes, and I use as a exemplar this person class, which defines this notion of personhood, what it means to be a person in this model. And in this case, we lent a person characteristics, properties, as it were, that were both continuous in character, such as income and age, and categorical in character, such as sex. Each of these characteristics required only fairly local modifications to this person class, and we define them via parameters. Parameters encode assumptions, and they allow us to communicate those assumptions from the place where this agent is being created. In this class, person was being created by, and therefore the characteristics of person specified by, the population. Those characteristics of a person, their age, sex, and income, were specified by the population in which they lived. Soon enough, we will see open populations, populations where people enter it over time through immigration or through births, perhaps leave it through deaths, for example. And we'll see the same pattern obtains. Those characteristics are provided, so when a baby is going to be born, you need to say what its age is, what its sex is, and in a most unclear fashion, what its income will be. Here, we have these characteristics, and they're specified by this parameter constructs. One of the most important building blocks, ladies and gentlemen, of AnyLogic models. We also saw that we could lend these models a visual appearance. Here we made use of a particularly simplistic and stylized one, 2-wit and oval, but that afforded us certain benefits. Namely, we could readily size it, in this case according to income, and color it, in this case according to the sex of a person. In general, AnyLogic supports a wide variety of representations, some of which have greater relevance to the health context than others. And we'll be drawing quite heavily on some of these in coming lectures, and we'll go beyond this sort of simple geometric paradigm. But using this depiction secured us some advantages that are non-trivial. They allowed us to sort of visually understand some aspects of what was going on in the model, which can be of great use in understanding, is the model in fact capturing relevant patterns? Is it doing things that are meaningful? Is there likely to be a problem? I was asked after the session, could I zoom out, zoom in on this? And I had been neglectful for not showing that. Yes, you can, particularly with a mouse or with a trackpad, depending how your system. You can use a zoom button to sort of to zoom out, or to zoom back into a system, and you can also pan around, of course, with the right mouse button. These things are controlled on a per experiment basis down here, where we can indicate whether a given experiment allows panning, that is that kind of moving around in it, or zooming. We can also indicate which of these kind of little widgets up here we want to grace the window when we create it. Okay, a more fundamental point, though, is we did have a very ready way of representing richly heterogeneous populations and capturing, in fact, even at this early point, some aspects of spatial context. And we could use the visual context for our use as we saw fit to give insight into the model. We'll be returning to some of those points. We're going to have a whole session on spatial context, and in fact cover things like GIS features of AnyLogic, which allow you to place a person in a specific geographic context, as well as to depict. AnyLogic can be used to depict irregular spaces such as facilities, or indeed more uniform spaces such as might obtain outdoors or with discrete sort of cells. But for now, we're going to leave that aspect, the visual aspect, or the spatial aspect fallow. So those are some comments on this morning's session.